Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Bill. We're going to be in the Masters of the Wild book today. This is a continuation of the Prestige class videos. We're looking at the King/Queen of the Wild Prestige class. I'll read a little bit about what the class is. We'll go over the 3rd edition D&D requirements to take the class, and I'll tell you what would need to change requirement-wise if you wanted to use this class for Pathfinder, which I'm trying to make this available for my players too, so that's why we're looking at all these classes and going, well, in Pathfinder, we'd probably need to do this, or this would need to be better. We'll look at the table of, we'll look at the hit dice, the skills. We'll look at the class table to see what their attack bonuses are, saves, what their special abilities are at each level. And then we'll go and read the actual description of those abilities in detail. So, without further ado, the King/Queen of the Wild. Few are brave enough to climb the highest mountains and tread the deepest deserts. But where nature's fury is at its height, there you will find kings and queens of the wild. Undaunted by the challenges before them, that is, if you're strong enough to look for them there. When choosing this prestige class, you must specify one of the following 8 terrain types: desert, forest, hills, marsh, mountains, plains, sea, skies, or underground. Other terrain types are not harsh enough to engender this kind of survivalism. Anyone with a tie to nature and sufficient hardiness can become a king or queen of the wild. Rangers, barbarians, and druids tend to be the most comfortable with this lifestyle. A character can choose this prestige class more than once, but each time you take this, you must pick a different terrain type and start again at first level for that type. And levels of different Kings/Queens of the Wild classes do not stack for determining level-based class features. So you can't stack, say, King of the Desert with King of the Mountain and get your total levels added together to gain abilities for the class. Your levels of King of the Mountain and King of the Desert would be different on your actual access to abilities from the class. Now, if you're playing a higher game than a 20th level game, a normal 1 through 20 level game that most people play, you're going into Epic, then picking the other ones and you could max them out would be very beneficial, in my opinion. So, requirements. To become a king or queen of the wild, a character must fulfill the following criteria. Your base fortitude save must be a +4. So without your constitution bonus, your fortitude save needs to be a +4. The skills you need to qualify, you must have hide of 4 ranks, into direction 4 ranks, wilderness lore 8 ranks, terrain dependent prerequisite skill 4 ranks. There's a list over here. So terrain dependent features. Say if you wanted to be a king or queen of the desert, you need to have spot of 4 ranks. And then if you're the forest, climb of 4 ranks. If you're of the hills, would be climb as again. If you're of the marsh, swim. If you're of the mountain, climb. If you're of the plains, move silently. If you're of the sea, swim. If you're of the skies, balance. And if you're of the underground, escape artist. So, the feat you need is endurance and track. And the special, the character must choose a terrain type and live in or near such an area. So, what I would change originally would probably be the skill qualifications. I would lower the ranks to, I'd lower the ranks to 5 on wilderness lore, and wilderness lore is survival in Pathfinder. Intuit direction, I don't think is in Pathfinder. It'd just be rolled into survival. And then hide is now stealth. So it'd be a stealth of 4 ranks. Your hit dice, as you level in this prestige class, is a d12. So you get the best hit points in the game. Your skill points are 4 plus intelligence modifier. The following skills are class skills. So you'd have to modify this list for Pathfinder after I go over it. So balance, climb, craft, handle animal, hide, intuit direction, jump, listen, move silently, ride, spot, swim, use rope, and wilderness lore. So balance is part of tumble now, and so is jump, or acrobatics I should say. Balance and jump are part of acrobatics. Hide and move silently are stealth now. Listen and spot are perception now. And wilderness lore is survival. So half the skills get combined with other skills out of this list. Your class features: weapon and armor proficiency. Kings and queens of the wild gain proficiency with simple weapons and light armor. So if your class that you were before you took this prestige class didn't have those proficiencies, you would gain them. Normally a prestige class doesn't give you any new proficiencies. So let's look at the table now. Your attack bonus for King or Queen of the Wild goes from +1 at first level to +10 at 10th level. So you have a fighter's base attack bonus progression. Your fortitude save and your will save are the best saves in the game for this prestige class. At first level, they'll be +2s. By the time you make it to 10th level, they are +7. So if you look at any core class out of the Player's Handbook from 3rd edition or out of the core Player's Rulebook for Pathfinder, the class that starts with a +2 at level 1, it follows that progression to level 10. So this would add, this being a prestige class, would add to whatever level you were when you started taking it at these rates. Your reflex save is your worst save, so checking all those classes, at first level would be a +0. By the time you make it to 10th level, it's only a +3. So now let's look at what their special abilities are by level. At first level, you get a terrain skill bonus. At 2nd level, you get Endure Elements 5 and Terrain Movement. At 3rd level, you get Attack Native Creature +1 and Terrain Camouflage. At 4th level, you get a bonus feat. At 5th level, you get Attack Native Creature +2 and Endure Elements 10. At 6th level, you get Detect Animals or Plants. At 7th level, you get Adaption, Attack Native Creature +3. At 8th level, you get a bonus feat and Endure Elements 15. At 9th level, you get Attack Native Creature +4. And at 10th level, you get Endure Elements 20 and Freedom of Movement. So, terrain skill bonus. At first level, the King or Queen of the Wild gain +2 insight bonus to both wilderness lore checks made with his or her terrain-dependent prerequisite skill while in the chosen terrain. So, to survival and your terrain-dependent skill you needed to get in, your prerequisite skill, you would get a bonus to it. Next would be Endure Elements. The King or Queen of the Wild can endure some damage from the elemental associated with the chosen terrain type, as though under a permanent Endure Elements effects. At 2nd level, the character ignores the first 5 points of damage from the element. The terrain element corresponds to the 5 energy types: acid, cold, electricity, fire, and sonic. This amount increases by an additional +5 at 5th level, 8th level, and 10th level. So let's go over the terrains real quick to see what each terrain associates with their elemental resistance. The desert, the terrain element is fire. The forest, the terrain element is fire. The hills, the terrain element is cold. The marsh, the terrain element is acid. The mountain, the terrain element is cold. The plains, the terrain element is electricity. The sea, the terrain element is cold. The skies, the terrain element is electricity. And the underground, the terrain element is sonic. So if you wanted resistance to sonic, the underground's the only one that gives you that. And there's only the marsh that gives you acid resistance. Terrain movement. At second level, if the chosen terrain is land-based, the king or queen of the wild can move overland as if it were the plains. The king of the sea or queen of the marsh swims along the surface of the water at 1/2 his or her land speed. The attack native creatures ability, the king or queen of the wild gains a competence bonus on attack rolls against any creature that has the character's chosen terrain listed in the climate terrain section of its statistics. In case of the king or queen of the skies, this means any natural flying creature or who lives outdoors. A creature with a listing of any land does not trigger these bonuses. This bonus is +1 at third level, and it increases by +1 for every 2 king or queen of the wild levels the character gains thereafter. Terrain camouflage. At third level, the king or queen of the wild may use the raw materials of their chosen terrain to conceal their presence from others. This full round action grants the character +10 competence bonus to hide checks in the chosen terrain. So +10 to stealth in the chosen terrain. Gotcha. Bonus feat. At 4th level and 8th level, the king or queen of the wild may choose a bonus feat from the list of his or her terrain type. This is in addition to the feats that a character of any class normally gets every 3 levels. So for Pathfinder, it would be every odd level, but yeah. The character must still meet any prerequisites for these bonus feats. Let's quickly go over the bonus feats. If you're going to be a king or queen of the desert, the feat list is Great Fortitude, Mounted Combat, Run Skill, and Toughness. That said, I think Toughness was a prerequisite, or was it Track? Track was the prerequisite. Okay. The skill focus would be Spot for that one. And then for the forest, you have Alertness, Brachiation, Point Blank Shot, Run, Skill Focus Climb. The hills, you have Alertness, Far Shot, Run, Skill Focus Climb, Toughness. King or Queen of the Marsh, you have Alertness, Blind Fight, Great Fortitude, Skill Focus Swim, and Toughness. King or Queen of the Mountain, you have Alertness, Great Fortitude, Jump, Skill Focus Climb, and Toughness. I don't know why Jump's listed as a bonus feat, unless it was supposed to be Skill Focus Jump. Okay, that one was a weird typo. And then of the plains, bonus feat, Alertness, Far Shot, Point Blank Shot, Run, Skill Focus, Move Silently. So skill focus would be Stealth for that one. King or Queen of the Sea, you have Alertness, Blind Fight, Exotic Weapon Proficiency, Net, Silent Spell, and Skill Focus Swim. I'm surprised you get Silent Spell, but it makes sense if you're a spellcaster and you're in the water. King or Queen of the Skies, you get Flyby Attack, Hover, Skill Focus Balance, Snatch, and Wing Over. So you get pretty much all the flying feats as bonus feats options. King or Queen of the Underground, you get Alertness, Blind Fight, Extra Turning, Great Fortitude, and Toughness. So this is assuming you would be a cleric if it gives you the extra turning as a bonus feat. Okay, so now we're on Detect Animals and Plants. At 6th level, the character can use Detect Animals or Plants within the chosen terrain as the druid of his or her king/queen of the wild level. This ability is usable 3 times per day. Adaptation. At 7th level, the character can function as if wearing a necklace of adaptation for a total of up to 30 minutes per day. So if you're of the sea, you can go underwater with a necklace of adaptation and pretty much breathe water for 30 minutes. Interesting. At least that's my interpretation. I could be wrong. I'd have to look up the adaptation spell or the necklace to know for certain. Freedom of movement. At 10th level, the king or queen of the wild can function as if under the influence of a freedom of movement spell for up to 30 minutes. This ability is usable once per day. That would allow you to avoid pretty much anything in the wild that would tangle you up or slow you down, like the water and whatnot. So with that, that's the king or queen of the wild. Let me look at the abilities on the table again, see if there's anything I would change. I would probably push terrain movement down to 1st level instead of getting it at 2nd level, so you'd get your ability to move through your terrain a lot easier. And put terrain camouflage at 2nd level instead of 3rd level. I think that'd be the major changes I'd make. I'd just kind of push those so you get them sooner. Everything else seems to be balanced enough. Freedom of movement I would give to you a lot earlier than 10th level, but let's see. I would get rid of the bonus feat at 8th level or the bonus feat at 4th level and give them freedom of movement. I'd have to look at the druid class to see when they would get their equivalent to move through the wild and put that as the level for that. And wherever I moved freedom of movement, I just switch it with a bonus feat. So at 10th level, you get a bonus feat instead of freedom of movement, but you get freedom of movement a lot sooner. The only downside to this prestige class is if you are a spellcaster like a druid going into it, your spellcasting class does not progress any further for the prestige class levels. So if you were a 5th level druid entering this prestige class, your druid level does not change. So you're still 5th level druid, even after taking all 10 levels of the prestige class. So you would still only be a 5th level caster when casting your druid spells until you start leveling your druid levels. So that's the only downside to taking the king or queen of the wild as a spellcaster. But as a barbarian or ranger, I could see a lot of benefits there. So this is a pretty cool prestige class. Let me know what you think of the prestige class in the comments below. Share this prestige class with your fellow game master and players if you're interested in playing it for Pathfinder or 3rd edition D&D, or try to use it in a 5th edition D&D. The abilities aren't crazy, and I'm sure a creative game master and player could work together to make this a playable prestige class or a playable class in 5th edition D&D. Until we all game again, guys.